And I want to say one more thing. I'm sick and tired of reading in the media every day how ICE is not doing what the Trump administration has promised, that we're not arresting criminals. So with the media out there, let's try telling the truth about the men and women of ICE and the men and women of the Border Patrol. I wore that uniform. I was an ICE agent. These are the finest men and women in this country.
That is the border czar, Tom Homan, one of the real heroes in America. One of the guys who is leading a legion of heroes that are making our country safe every single day. God bless Tom Homan. God bless the men and women of the Customs and Border Patrol, the ICE agents who are out there rounding up the people who've been allowed in our country. Fantastic stuff. It's Mike Opelka. That's me. I'm in for my friend Chris Plant on the Chris Plant Show. You're welcome to join us anytime, 888-630-9625. It is National Junk Food Day, and we certainly have a lot of junk food, although Robert Kennedy Jr. is really trying to get the junk out of the food, and he seems to be succeeding. I wonder, we didn't get confirmation yet from Coca-Cola. Last week, President Trump said that Coca-Cola was going to be ditching the high fructose corn syrup in favor of cane sugar, which, you know, that's in the Coke you can buy in Mexico. Not that kind of Coke, Hunter. Calm down. Just Coca-Cola with regular cane sugar. It tastes good. But Kennedy's getting the dyes out of the foods, out of the ice creams. I don't know if your super flamin' hot Dorito nachos are going to be seen from space anymore, those electric orange colors, but we'll see. We will see. But it's National Junk Food Day, in case you're wondering. I think this means this is the day you get a pass and you can eat any kind of junk food you want. I have to think about that. I'm going to watch some tennis later here in D.C. My nephew, Riley Opelka, playing in the D.C. Open, as well as one of the great legends of tennis, Venus Williams, is returning to the court. I don't think she's played in like a year and a half. So good luck to everybody going out, but especially to Riley Opelka. We'll get to that. The border czar, Tom Homan, and his praise for the men and women of the ICE agents, the Border Patrol, is especially important today because over the weekend, we got the news that a Border Patrol agent was shot in New York City by an illegal, somebody who was here, and we knew this was a bad person, but this person was released back out on the streets. And there's video of this. This is the most disturbing thing. You can see the video of this ambush that was set up for this guy. Secretary Noem talking about it just as the show was getting underway. There was a press conference.
Listen, our officer was off duty on Saturday evening when him and his friend were attacked. They were attacked by two individuals that were set on robbing them, and thankfully he had his service weapon with him and was able to defend himself and his friend and injured one of those individuals that was trying to do them harm. His quick action speaks to his tenacity and his excellence in training and skill, and because of that, one of the perpetrators was wounded in this interaction and was incarcerated when he came in to get medical treatment. One of the suspected attackers, the one that was injured, his name is Miguel Francisco Mora Nunez, a Dominican national that was entering into this country illegally back in 2023.
Gee, 2023. Let me think all the way back to 2023. Who was in charge of the country in 2020? Oh, that was Joe Biden. He didn't know it, but the Biden administration was in charge of the country.
He was then released back into this country by the Biden administration.
There it is. Once again, one of the possibly hundreds of thousands of violent criminals released back into the country by the Biden administration.
Miguel Francisco Moro Nunez is and has a rap sheet that is a mile long. He was arrested. He was charged with grand larceny and also assault. The state of Massachusetts has an active warrant out for him for armed robbery with a firearm. He also has many other charges against him, such as kidnapping and witness intimidation. There's absolutely zero reason that someone who is scum of the earth like this should be running loose on the streets of New York City.
Except the only reason is because it's New York City. That's the only reason. And the New Yorkers better wake up, because it's not going to get better if they elect Mamdani. It's not going to get better if Mamdani is the mayor of New York after Mayor Adams leaves. Mayor Adams still trying to make the case that he's the guy. He came out of the NYPD. Yeah, but this guy was released on your watch, buddy. This guy was in your town on your watch.
He was arrested 4 different times in New York City, and because of the mayor's policies and sanctuary city policies, was released back to do harm to people and to individuals living in this city.
4 times he was arrested. It wasn't for jaywalking. It wasn't for jaywalking under Giuliani. Remember how clean New York City was just a few years ago, before the socialists took over? Even Bloomberg managed to keep a kind of a rein on the crime in New York City. And then came Big Bird. Yeah, de Blasio. And now you've got this guy who's trying to find his NYPD roots again. 4 times this guy was arrested. 4 times he was released. Shot a Border Patrol agent who, God bless him, is hopefully going to recover. Kristi Noem calling out the sanctuary cities, the sanctuary states.
Make no mistake, this officer is in the hospital today fighting for his life because of the policies of the mayor of this city and the city council and the people that were in charge of keeping the public safe. They refused to do so, and now we have the situation on our hand where someone who has dedicated their lives to protecting the public is now fighting for his own. I'm calling on every single mayor and sanctuary city and sanctuary governor to change their policies and to change their tactics right now.
Now, that sounds great, but they're not going to do it. The Boston mayor isn't going to change. The Chicago mayor, Brandon Johnson, isn't going to change. Bass out in L.A., she's clueless. Karen Bass doesn't know what the hell's going on. They're not changing. We have to do something. The only option is truly at the ballot box. Look at the progress in the first 6 months of Donald Trump 2.0. Look at the progress that's been made. And there is more to come. But it has to be done locally to make any real effect on your lives immediately. Once you change the mayor, once you change the governor, once you change the attorney generals, the district attorneys, things change. But that's what needs to happen. It's not happening right now. Instead, you've got Democrats who are denying that there's even a problem with the attacks on ICE agents. So, over the weekend, I don't know if you saw it, but the Waddler.
Attacks on ICE agents?
Jerry Nadler was asked about the attacks on ICE agents.
Attacks on ICE agents?
What attacks on ICE agents?
Attacks on ICE agents?
What attacks on ICE agents? The Waddler is saying, walking down the halls of the House building. What attacks? Saying it's a myth. We go back to July 27th of 2020. Nadler declared it's a myth that Antifa provocateurs are behind all the violent protests in Portland. And by the way, Tom Homan announced he's headed to Portland. Hello, Portland. How you doing? Get ready, because Tom Homan is bringing the party to your town. Tom Homan is coming to Portland. It's really interesting. Let's grab a couple of phone calls here. The phones are just hopping today. I love talking to you people. If you want to be part of the conversation, 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. Helen in South Carolina. Hello, Helen.
Hello, Michael.
How are you, my friend?
I am calling to sort of disagree with your choice or your thinking about Cuomo being a mayor of New York. You forgot one important Republican, Curtis Sliwa. And Curtis Sliwa started as a very young man, probably a teenager, establishing the Guardian Angels, which protected the citizens of New York on the subways and in the streets of New York. He helped arrest many lawbreakers. They held them for the police to come and take them away. And I think he'd be an excellent person for the city of New York as mayor.
Now, Helen, I can tell that's not a South Kakalaki accent. That sounds like you might have spent some time in New York.
Well, New York State.
Okay, that's all right. I lived in New York City for 23 years, and I can tell you I know a little bit of Curtis personally. And when I worked in New York City radio, somebody broke into my car and stole my very coveted radio station varsity jacket. They were very limited. Only the people who worked at the big radio station, Z100, had them. And we got a phone call that said they had seen my jacket on a Guardian Angel. Curtis Sliwa, I will raise my hand and testify that Curtis Sliwa, Helen, stood up and said, I will bring you your jacket. He found the guy who had it, who was a member. He terminated him from the Guardian Angels. He had my jacket dry cleaned, and he brought it back to me. Curtis Sliwa was a stand-up guy, and we have asked him if he'd talk to us, and they're really only focused on doing campaign work and interviews in New York City, in the 5 boroughs, because he knows that's where he's got to do most of his work right now. But Curtis Sliwa, yes, he would be a better choice than Mamdani. I wonder about the Cuomo thing, but here's the issue. Helen, you may know this. For every one Republican registered in New York, there are 8 registered Democrats in the city. It's just a stunning majority that they have. So I don't know if he'd be able to overcome that. I think you're going to have to look close to the middle. That's just me. But you're right about Curtis. He's a fine man. And he's a guy who grew up on the streets in New York, so he knows it very well. Excellent thought. Let's go to Ziggy in Chicago. Ziggy calling from Chicago. Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Can you hear me?
Barely. Are you in a well? Do you need help? Should we get you a rope?
Not so well, but it's just I live outside Chicago, so it's just
Ziggy, I got to put you on hold. We're going to have to fix that. We'll try and straighten that out. But let's bounce over to Jason in Kensington. Good day, Jason.
Hey, good day, mate. How you going?
I'm good. We're going to be watching some tennis today. If you're around, come on by.
Yeah, I know. I love the old tennis, man. I grew up playing that stuff. But I also grew up in the surfing community, and when the surfing became commercialized, I guess they toyed with the idea of mixing, men and women's sports, and the idea was out there, and a bunch of them decided that they were going to quit the circuit if this was going to go ahead. So they backed off it pretty quickly because, it just didn't make sense having a man surfing against women surfers. There's just such a big difference in the levels of surfing with the two different genders, and they backed off it pretty quick. It's just, these people just kidding themselves that they don't think there's any sort of physical, difference in certain sports, and then certain sports that women are better at men, and then vice versa. And it's like, it's just fake sort of mentality that they think they can actually compete on the same level. It's just not fair to all the other, people are actually genuinely competing.
Yeah, I didn't even think about surfing as a professional sport. I guess I think about it the way I think of snowboarding, and where there is a physical difference or a benefit to be garnered by having the male physique, that should be addressed, and it should. Now, I know in golf they used to have what they call ladies' tees. You're not allowed to call them ladies' tees anymore. They're forward tees. And I know in the WNBA it used to be a smaller basketball, and I think it was a lower rim. I don't know if that's still the case because I just don't care. But I just wonder about that. I hadn't thought about surfing. What does the highest paid surfer earn? Do you know?
It's a lot better now than it used to be because of the sponsorship that goes into it. So the average surfer, the purses in surfing contests aren't near the purses of some other sports, but it's the sponsorship. So you could be ranked, down in the 150 to 200 in the world and still make a pretty good living out of it. I mean, back in the day when I was growing up, unless you were in the top, say, 20, you weren't making a living. Most of these guys were like bricklayers or tradesmen, and they'd go and do their heat and have a cigarette and see if they won their heat. If not, they just go back to work again. So there was never any money in it. But in the recent years with the sponsorship, that's where the money sort of comes from.
Well, I did a quick check with our friend Grok, who says that in 2025 the highest paid surfer is Gabriel Medina, who makes an estimated $2.5 million US. Most of that from, as you said, sponsorships and endorsement, with a little bit of prize money. Interesting. And yeah, I haven't checked to see if a female surfer is even close to that, but we'll dig into it. I got to take a break though, Jason. Appreciate you joining us. We will get to that Jim Carrey story. It's particularly infuriating. And Lindsey Graham has a special warning for Vladimir Putin. I wonder if Putin's shaking in his boots. It's Mike Opelka in for Chris Plant on the Chris Plant Show.
Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris.
It is the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka in for my buddy Chris Plant, who is cruising on the Chris Plant cruise. We have so much to get to, and I promised this earlier. It was too good. It was Senator Lindsey Graham on Fox News with Trey Gowdy and issuing a very, very specific warning to Vladimir Putin.
And Putin, your turn is coming. You know, Donald Trump is the Scotty Scheffler of American politics and foreign diplomacy, and he's...
I don't know if it's really correct to say Donald Trump's the Scotty Scheffler. Trump might even be past Scheffler at this point. He might be more Tiger Woods. But sorry to interrupt you, Senator. Continue.
Donald Trump is the Scotty Scheffler of American politics and foreign diplomacy, and he's about to put a whooping on your ass. What's going to happen here is that Trump is going to impose tariffs on people that buy Russian oil. China, India, and Brazil, those three countries buy about 80% of cheap Russian oil. That's what keeps Putin's war machine going. So President Trump's going to put 100% tariff on all those countries, punishing them for helping Putin. Putin can live through sanctions. He could give a damn about Russian soldiers. But China, India, and Brazil, they're about to face a choice between the American economy or helping Putin. And I think they're going to come pick the American economy.
I think he's right on that. And it just shows the brilliant move. By putting these secondary tariffs on India and Brazil and anybody who's buying Russian oil, China, now will have to pay a huge price to do business with America. It's a great squeeze. It's just a really brilliant squeeze. President Trump should get credit for that. Maybe he is the Scotty Scheffler headed towards being the Tiger Woods or the Jack Nicklaus. We want to talk about goats and majors. It's Mike Opelka in for Chris Plant on the Chris Plant Show. It is the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka sitting in for my friend Chris Plant. We just played this clip from Lindsey Graham where he said that Vladimir Putin's in for an ass whooping from Donald Trump. I'm not sure Putin's afraid of Lindsey Graham, but I don't know. I could be wrong. Ron in Arkansas is calling into the Chris Plant Show to weigh in on this. Ron, welcome to the program, sir.
Yeah, Lindsey Graham, he's a real man's man, and
maybe I don't know.
And I would be scared of him if he was going to hit me with the military-industrial complex.
That's
you know,
yeah.
And he kind of walks with a swish anyway. So he's a real man's man. I would like to see him and Putin fight it out in their judo stuff.
That would be an itch. I think Putin would have the reach advantage because he's a lot taller than Lindsey. If you've ever been around,
but Lindsey has the mean advantage.
The mean advantage? He's mean?
Yeah. He has the tough advantage.
I am not so sure about that with Rod. You've opened up all kinds of cans here. I'm just going to keep walking. Thank you. Let's grab one more call. I don't know what's with Arkansas. Thank you, Arkansas. Reaching out to the Chris Plant Show. James is calling from Arkansas as well. Hello, James.
Hey, good morning. How you doing today, Mike?
Good. Welcome, sir. What's up?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, what's on your mind, James?
Comment.
Yeah.
Well, I want to comment on the, you had talked about the Border Patrol shooting, the agent that's in the hospital and so forth.
Yes, sir.
And you were talking about the mayor's policies and so forth. And, I mean, let's have the same standard across the board, because now we're charging parents for the criminal crimes of their kids. Well, I mean, why don't we charge the mayor for the criminal activity because he has bad policies? What's the difference between a mayor having a bad policy and a parent having a bad policy?
That's an interesting take. And, I'm old enough to remember when the news came on at 10 o'clock at night in Chicago, they'd always say, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? Basically saying, hey, if you're not sure where your kids are, you're going to be held responsible. But making a mayor responsible criminally, you can't really for what happens in his city. But at the ballot box, when the elections are held, you would hope the people would make them responsible. You hope the people would exact a price. But and they do on occasion. It often takes longer in blue cities. Just look at what happened in Chicago. I mean, it really is. We went from Lori Lightfoot to Brandon Johnson, and everybody was happy to say goodbye to the singing and dancing Lori Lightfoot, and now you got Johnson, and I think he's even worse. And things are not getting better from my old hometown. It's really kind of depressing. But thank you, James, for the call. There were some crazy clips that have popped since we were here last week, and I want to share them with you. We talked in the middle of the week when the news came out that Hunter Biden had apparently decided it was time for him to come out of whatever hole he's been hiding in since before the election and start getting public again. And he did a podcast where he started talking about stuff. Well, he's gone to yet another podcast, and it's apparently a podcast that doesn't have real high standards on language, because this one may set the record for the most bleeps in under a minute. I'm just saying. Let's hear what Hunter Biden has to say.
All these Democrats say, you have to talk about and realize that people are really upset about illegal immigration. You. How do you think your hotel room gets cleaned? How do you think you got food on your table? Who do you think washes your dishes? Who do you think does your garden? Who do you think is here by the sheer just grit and will that they figured out a way to get here because they thought that they could give themselves and their family a better chance? And he's somehow convinced all of us that these people are the criminals?
I think that was 6. So it's less than 10 seconds for F-bombs to be dropped. And if we listen to the whole thing, I think that might be more. But it would kill Michael Piercy because just the effort to go into trying to censor all of Hunter Biden's language, I don't think he's improved much. And I don't think he has enough money for the swear jar, as it were. Now, Hunter Biden, if my memory is correct, Hunter blamed the gun that he threw in the trash behind the the high-end grocery store in Wilmington, Delaware. It's called Jansen's. He blamed it on illegal immigrants. He tossed his gun into the trash bin behind the grocery store, not too far from a school. And Hunter responded, said, yeah, they're probably illegal. Probably is what he told the police. Probably illegal. There were suspicious people working around that school. Very interesting. Hunter Biden. Yeah, he's out there. Also, James Carville. Carville is obsessed, to say the least. I do think that the mainstream media's left side is probably going to start drifting away from Carville and not booking him as often, although he is entertaining to those of us who recognize crazy. Carville stepped in to speculate on the Epstein issue, but he also has to constantly go after Donald Trump. Remember, late last week we got the report that the president, a man of 79 years of age, has a circulation problem and his ankles were a little swollen. This was called normal. It is an issue that happens as our bodies age, and there are some cures for it. It's a treatment that can be a condition that can be treated, and it can be treated with diet and exercise, etc. So I'm not too worried about President Trump, unless it holds him back from playing golf, because I know he loves to play golf. But Carville took that story and the story of the bruises on the president's hand, which were correctly identified by the White House physician and several other doctors who've weighed in, saying this happens when you're on an aspirin regimen. This happens to a person when they take the aspirin to make sure they don't get clots in their blood. But James Carville had to speculate more on that, but also adding a new crazy twist to the Epstein madness.
We have to consider this possibility. Okay, I said possibility, but it's a real possibility that Melania was introduced to Donald by Jeffrey Epstein.
Wait, what?
Maybe that's why we have this fierce resistance to find out what's going on.
Really? Is there fierce resistance? I know there was a push to release the grand jury testimony last week, but this was Carville opening up his crazy podcast, which I watched so you don't have to. It's my way of falling on a sword for you. But there was more wild speculation.
Well, back again, not to toot my horn or anything like that, but just to be really factual. Those of you who tune into this YouTube channel frequently know that I was the first person to start talking about certain questions on Trump's extremities.
Now, I'm just absolutely questioning why Carville is obsessed with, as he calls it, Trump's extremities.
You will. Turned out that he had red splotches all over his hand. We investigated that, and we concluded it could be something related to venereal disease.
Now, you concluded, James Carville, not a doctor, never investigated, never sat with Donald Trump and looked at it, but you don't even have the skills, the schooling to do so. But you have concluded has something to do with the venereal disease.
Clap, or whatever you want to call it. And now we're treated to the swollen ankles. When you look at the picture, his ankles are as big as his head.
Well, they're swollen, but yes, this is a condition that happens to people in their late 70s and 80s. And Carville has somehow twisted all of this around. His entire focus is just, I can't see a network booking him again if he's going to be preaching this kind of insanity.
And let me report it again, because it's very important. You're not going to see this on cable TV. You're not going to see this in the columnists, anything.
And there's a reason why you're not going to see this, because this is insanity. This is the lunatic ravings of a madman.
In January, in the year 2017, Trump's physician was a gentleman by the name of Dr. Bornstein, who is unfortunately deceased now.
Which means nobody can talk to him. So no matter what Carville spews here, nobody can get an answer from Dr. Bornstein. So go ahead and just say whatever you want, James.
He sent Keith Schiller and two goons into Dr. Bornstein's office to confiscate his medical records.
So Donald Trump in 2017 wanted his medical records. And I think a lot of us who say that we're happy of the Health Information Privacy Act, HIPAA, would like the same. The president should have the same as every average citizen, right? No, Carville doesn't agree.
Dr. Bornstein said he had felt like he was violated. So there was something in those medical records that they didn't want anybody to know.
So this is your speculation just because Trump wanted his own records. But continue, sir. You don't sound crazy at all.
Why else would you send in goons to confiscate the medical records from your internists? The answer is pretty obvious. There's something in there that he didn't want any possibility of it getting out.
I just think Carville has lost it, and we need to do a wellness check on James Carville. That's what we need. We need a daily list of Democrats who require a wellness check. Carville needs to be at the very tippy top of the wellness check, along with Keith Olbermann. Olbermann, a guy who once had a huge deal. Remember, he was actually a big stinking deal at MSNBC, had a TV show that people used to watch. And I know a lot of folks in conservative media dreamed of being named the worst person in the world by Olbermann, because that was his shtick. He would come up with three conservatives who were actually spitting truth, and he'd declare one of them the worst person in the world. But he's lost it. It started back after he lost the MSNBC gig, but this was Olbermann the day after Trump was inaugurated for the first time.
We were invaded, is what it boils down to, just because there was not blood on the street.
Right.
If the Russians had come in with Cossacks and put him in, I think we would have had a different kind of reaction to it. That's the reaction we need now. What I saw last night was a lot of people hooting and hollering correctly and getting fired up and going, we're going to resist this in every way possible. And other people going, you really think it's that serious? Yes, I do think it's that serious.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's the point. Well, but it's the point of a war, other than to gain territory, is to put the guy you want in charge of somebody else's country.
Yeah.
And we're now only debating at this point, after the story in the New York Times yesterday, how much the Russians decided our election.
And we
really now we're only debating. That was back in 2017. As we now know, the Obama administration had been actually plotting to make life difficult for the incoming Trump administration. And then you fast forward to November 6th of 2024. Same guy, same mental illness, perhaps worse.
And
Russia has committed an act of war against this nation. We were attacked last night. Regardless of the outcome of the presidential election, as certainly as if Russia had bombed and not merely threatened with a terrorist attack.
I hope his health insurance includes mental health insurance. I really do. I don't want anybody to be going untreated when they have this kind of derangement. It really is depressing. And I feel badly for his family. Hopefully he will get help for his just extra large Trump derangement syndrome. It's really kind of sad. Really sad. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, we'll try and get to as many calls as possible for the lightning round. That means you have to be ready. Give your comment quickly. 888-630-9625. And what did Jim Carrey say? The man who's supposedly worth over $150 million. He's got an interesting take on where he thinks this country should go. It's Mike Opelka in for Chris Plant on The Chris Plant Show. The Chris Plant Show, wrapping up this Monday edition of the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka is sitting in for my buddy Chris Plant while he cruises, and we'll see if we get another update from Chris Manana. Had a lot of fun today. Covered a lot of topics, including President Trump's push to get the Washington football team renamed to its old name, so everything old is new again. I didn't have time to get into Elon Musk's latest business, which is kind of interesting, the Tesla Diner. The Tesla Diner, which is a place you can go and get you a burger, and he's already got his robots working there serving the popcorn. I don't know if they're making the burgers. I know they have burger flipping robots that are already out there. but it's a unique concept of a retro diner with a drive-in movie and 80 superchargers for Tesla cars and other cars. Very interesting, because that was one of the things that my wife and I absolutely hated when I drove an electric vehicle for 3.5 years. The range anxiety is real. And what do you do for the 20 to 40 minutes while you're waiting for your car to recharge, to juice up again? Well, Elon's found a way. We'll talk about it tomorrow. I mentioned Jim Carrey. It's an interesting story. Jim Carrey, the actor, has basically said it's time for us to stop laughing at socialism. Time for us to kind of move and accept socialism, which is really kind of crazy coming from a guy whose net worth estimated to be somewhere around $180 million. That's per celebrity net worth. That's probably, maybe it's a little bit less than that. But even if it's 2/3 of that, he's still doing quite well. And I wonder if that means he's willing to share his socialism. He said, we have to stop apologizing. No, we don't. Show me the place where it's worked. Oh, it's never been done right. Sure, it's never been done right. All those hundreds of millions of dead people. Thank you, Jim Carrey. You came here from another country. I wonder if we could revoke his citizenship. Yes, he was a Canadian. I don't think you can take Rosie O'Donnell's away. Maybe you can take away Jim Carrey's. Doubt it. Let's get a call in here before we get out of here. Russ in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Hello, Russ. Welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Thank you. I have a question I've been wondering about for a long time. When was the last time a white person in the United States got charged, a black person got charged with a hate crime for killing a white person?
I'm going to have to look that one up.
Like Red Denny that got bottles and bricks broke over his head during the riots in L.A.
Yeah.
They didn't charge those people with a hate crime. What's the deal?
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to do some research on that. I'll let you know tomorrow, but good one. Let's grab one more on the lightning round. Brad in Binghamton, New York. Hello, Brad. You have one. You're the last caller of the day. What's your thought?
Just got one quick thought on a possible solution to the sports team naming problem.
Okay.
And it is that we have a plebiscite in which only residents of Indian reservations can vote.
Well, see, now you're cutting out all the fans of the Redskins. I understand what you're saying, but I think that's against the American idea. Just a thought, but it's a good idea.